Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today is going to be a nice episode, long episode, and it's going to be all about the trade war. And we're going to say, and to everyone, India should stop cutting cake with China. And that's, as the trade war is just heating up and taking off, before it's too late, just stop this cake business. Look, the trade war has just blown off. Okay. We will go through the contours of the trade war. Everyone is shooting at each other. It's like, shoot out at high, okay, Coral, you know, midday shootout type. Everyone is shooting at each other. Today, EU has also come out with some kind of a retaliatory tariffs. A lot of countries are seeing, look, if this tariff comes in, all this, I mean, it's coming in, it's coming already. So there'll be recession. If recession happens, how do you support people? This is back to COVID days. Governments are searching methods how to support their businesses, which suddenly are under threat of going out. And a major global economic recession is on the cards. So it's in that context that I want to talk with all of you. What India is, what it is do, we'll see, we'll get to that. But mainly, of late, there are a lot of bonhomie between India and China, unnatural. Some natural, some unnatural. It's natural for some guys who are rooting to go to China and have a deal with them. It's unnatural for guys like me who want nothing to do with China. So the 75th anniversary, big cake cutting and all send shivers up my spine. कहीं जाके कुछ करना दे ये लोग. So we should understand what is going to happen in all this. Today, I mean, I'm going to talk about the trade war. Okay. And then in the end, I'll see what is India's role in it. Okay. And we'll see where we are going in this whole business. Look, this is actually a sequel to this. 4 days, 5 days back, I did risks of cake cutting with China. Interestingly, I got a feedback on someone from Malaysia. Now, this is the link. This is the link which you see here. This is the link. You please use this link and have a look at it. And I put the link in the description. I put the link in the comments also. You must see this because this is virtually a continuation of that. But the feedback from Malaysia is important because it sets the tone for what we're going to discuss today. It says, sir, I am from Malaysia. Here we don't trust the Chinese. That's the operative word. We don't trust the Chinese. So the Chinese don't have trust largely, even in its neighbors. The Chinese cheated the native, grabbed the land, do money loan at exponential interest, can't pay, then grab the house. If there's no repayment, the Chinese take the house back, land and car. Okay. Same thing in Indonesia. So if you fall in the debt trap to China, this is the thing. They claim the Chinese. See history how Indonesia killed the Chinese. Sir, you explained very well. Hope the stupid economy ministry in India don't forget the history what China did to India. ये मलेशिया से बात कर रहा है. We should take heed. This is about an individual. You want a country example? Look at Sri Lanka. Can you trust the Chinese? You can't. If you can't trust the Chinese under these conditions, you have to be very careful before you go ahead with cutting the cake. It's full of poison. And this is what many of you have told me. But let's look at what we're going to do. So what I'll do is I'll go in a structured manner so that all of you understand the whole story. A lot of people are saying इसने उतना ट्रेड कर दिया, उसने उतना कर दिया, क्या असर होगा ये वो. Let me deconstruct the trade war for you. and then see. Someone might say, yeah, what is this general talking of economics? This is no more economics. This is military as far as I'm concerned. And what I'm going to tell you is a military appraisal. So first and foremost, we're going to talk of the contours of the trade war as it is emerging, as it has emerged so far. Then we look at how the US has positioned itself. We look at the Chinese position because ये लड़ाई तो इन दोनों के बीच में है ना. And then I'm going to talk about the Chinese outreach to India because China has done a major outreach to India, something which I've never seen earlier. Okay. And why cake cutting with China is a poor option? Let me explain that also. And then India's way forward. So let's go. Look, as far as I'm concerned, it does not matter who wins the trade war. It doesn't matter to me whether China wins or USA wins. Historically, let's understand, neither USA was there when we needed them, nor China. Both have not been very good to India. At various points of time, even after strategic partnership, USA has, put us on a back foot. The latest example being Bangladesh. Bangladesh was something which they need not have done. Okay. While we are thankful to Mr. Trump for telling Mr. Modi कि भाई बांग्लादेश को आप संभालो, it need not have happened that way. We also must never forget China is our major adversary. We've been speaking of it, and that will not change at all. So far, all adjustments, whether it is with China or USA, have been only tactical. There's no strategic thing because we want to retain our strategic autonomy or non-alignment. जो अंग्रेजी बात करना कर लो, but we want to be strategically independent. To my way of looking at it, Indian interests are supreme. It doesn't matter to me what happens to China or USA. So my analysis today is to see what should India do rather than who's going to win or lose. Okay, with that, let's get going. And we'll start with, the contours of the trade war as the first one as to how that's evolving. Okay, let me make it bigger. This is the tariffs which have been laid down by America on the world. Mota mota. Okay, so what's so special about it? As of now, they've levied 104% tariff on China. What has China done? It has levied 84% back. They matched 34%, they matched the next 50%. But that's not the only thing. There are other countries which are also tariffed, major, which are linked with China. They are Mexico, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. On these, some more are there, but I'm not talking. Now, these countries are surrogate countries of China to some extent. And I'll talk of it a little later. Now, China, like I said, has hit back with the 84% tariff. So that's where it stands today. Okay. टैरिफ पे टैरिफ चलो आगे कहानी क्या होगा देखते हैं. Now you have to see with which countries USA has a deficit trade balance or a trade balance. The ones which are in red here, the red are the ones which it has a deficit trade balance. That means it exports less and imports more from these countries. Of course, the biggest is China. The next, interestingly, is Mexico. Then you have Vietnam, all that. Now, it is well known in this China plus one story, we all thought, our Modi ji, and he did it very sincerely. PLI scheme, ye wo, come invest in make in India, all that. Nothing happened because nothing could have happened. China did not allow that to happen. Chinese people just simply went and shifted their factories to Mexico or Vietnam and all these countries. Which are the countries? These are the countries: Vietnam, Mexico, Cambodia, Thailand, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Sri Lanka. Or more. There might be more, but mota mota, these are the ones. And this is the deficit with these countries and USA. China direct is 346. Indirect deficit is 562. So actually, in through the other countries, this deficit has been put. Now, what is the issue? These other countries also have been tariffed at 45-50% or whatever it is. So first and foremost, the movement from China to Vietnam and Mexico, Cambodia, that's going to go tough. None of these countries have the capability to put a tariff back on USA. And if they did, it didn't matter. And tomorrow, China can just close imports from, USA can just close imports from these countries, and they've had it. That's about $220 billion annually. And that hit, China can't avoid. It can't avoid. Okay? Something which everyone must understand. Because what you see in Twitter is the direct tariff. What about the indirect tariff? Right. The tariff war, 84% versus 104%, is about the 346 billion. And we'll come to that. Okay. With this, there is a fundamental change in the global order. It's going to happen. All this business of multipolarity and globalization, everything is over. Trade and industrial scenario is undergoing a sea change. Protectionism will rise. It will become more and more rampant. So what we are doing in India, what we've been doing in India for a long time will seem normal. We are not off the mark. That's what we need to understand. While we accepted globalization, we didn't go in for full globalization. We still had high tariffs and protected our whole story. Okay. Now, there are other things which are happening. Nations are remilitarizing. That's one of the first things Trump has said. You look after yourself. So who? Japan, complete Europe, Taiwan, all these chaps are remilitarizing. So you're looking at a scenario where their markets are roiled, the industry and their economies are going to go down, and their militarization has to go up. Paisa. Paisa kahan se aayega? Who will get this money from where? The countries are in a major fix. And these are all small economies. You might think they're big economies, advanced economies, but their overall capabilities are less. Each nation has to be on its own. Apne haath Jagannath. We also have to understand in all this, whatever happens to Trump, tariff, Xi Jinping, all that, the Chinese militarization is ceaseless. It has some effect on China and it has some effect on everyone else. Can China afford this militarization after the effects of the Trump war? I don't know. Will China weaponize this militarization to mercantilism? That's the question. Then something is happening in Iran. So if that deal doesn't go through well, you're going to look at a whole host of countries who are going to nuclearize. So nuclearization will be resurgent. So you're going to have a new set of nuclear equations. When you set nuclear equations, they'll affect space. I'm giving you the macro perception of what's going to happen. That's why I said this is no more a trade war. This is a full-blown World War. If there's a World War III, it is this. Now, let's see who's retaliating, who's not retaliating with USA. Okay, let's understand this. If you have a look at it, I think I'll make it bigger. It's just okay. Canada has already retaliated. Okay, China, major retaliation. EU is starting to retaliate. They've not put out, but they said they're going to retaliate somewhere. Then the others who already seeking accommodation. Mexico, Korea, Taiwan, India, UK, Switzerland, Thailand, Vietnam, Japan. They're all now, they'll swing towards USA. They don't have a choice. They just don't have a choice. To that extent, we are far ahead of the loop. But then I'll come to that later. So all these countries, their economies will collapse if they don't align with USA or don't listen to what USA wants. Tariffs. Why is Trump putting tariffs? Tariffs are meant for three reasons. First, make money. Higher tariff, import duty is more, I make money. Number two, I protect my industry or protect my economy. I raise a tariff so high that in my country, people can't buy that item, so they have to go in for indigenous alternative. The third reason, leverage. Three reasons. Remember this. I don't know if you heard it or not, but these are the three reasons. You get leverage out of tariffs. Trump is doing all three. Okay. So you're going to have this story going. And Trump also wants to reduce the deficits in US, current account deficits. So there's a macro game at play. It's not a one-off shot that he's come with something new out of the blue. Okay, now let's go back to the slides. Let's talk of the US position. What is the US position as of today? I'll show you the US position through a set of small clips. I mean, everyone would have heard of everything, but you'll get three different views of, you will be seeing who will win, who will not. So let's take the US position. Okay, now this man is Scott Bessent. Who's Scott Bessent? He's a Treasury Secretary. Who's the Treasury Secretary? He's a Finance Minister of USA. So what does he have to say? Let's see. Let's hear him.
President Trump has maximum negotiating leverage right here, right now. And I think it would be a mistake for anyone to think otherwise. And as I said, many of our trading partners, they have queued up and they have kept their cool. They have not escalated, and they will get priority in the queue. I think it was a big mistake, this Chinese escalation, because they're playing with a pair of twos. Traditionally, if you look at the history of the trade negotiations, we are the deficit country. So what do we lose by the Chinese raising tariffs on us? We we export 1/5 to them of what they export to us. So that is a losing hand for them.
So, right? Right.
President Trump has
Okay. So he claims that USA has the maximum leverage. Many countries are already aligning with USA, which I've already told you. I wouldn't say aligning, they're mending fences. He says aligning, but let's put it that way. He sees Chinese escalation as a big mistake. Now, the interesting thing and the important thing is, which is right. This is one thing he's right. Chinese tariffs on US exports will have no effect because they are just 1/5 of Chinese exports to USA. Direct. So if I go back to that, if you go back to this, complete 562 billion is at risk of tariffs. On the other hand, 1/5 of 346 is how much? Just about 100 million, not even that. What China tariffs USA will not be that heavy compared to what USA will tariff China. This is a point to be understood. And out of this 562, there's a rough figure from figures which I could get from the internet. I could be wrong on figures, but understand the bigger principle. 220 billion of this is irreversible tariff, which all these chota countries will be forced to fall in line. If they don't fall in line, China takes the hit. Those countries will take the hit, but the Chinese businesses will take the hit. If Chinese businesses take the hit, China will take the hit.
President Trump.
Okay. The same thing is, the next question is, can China retaliate? So what does Scott Bessent say? Incidentally, Scott Bessent is a well-known guy. He's a successful businessman. He's well read and he's very logical. Okay. And he was one of the guys who people said, okay, good, he's been put as the Treasury Secretary. So let's hear what he says about the retaliation.
You want to sell to Americans, you got to make it in America.
Sure. Or pay the tariff.
So how is China as a nation going to, this is such a big challenge. It's directly in their face. It's about every country on the globe, but it's really more than any other country about China, I think it's fair to say. How are they going to respond? What's the retaliation look like?
Well, I don't know if they can retaliate for a couple of reasons. If you look at the history, and I used to teach economic history, and when you look at the history, we are the debtor nation.
Yes.
We have the trade deficits. The surplus nation is in the weaker position because the Chinese business model, and Tucker, by the way, the Chinese business model and the economy are the most imbalanced in the history of the modern world. We've never seen anything like this in terms of their export level relative to their GDP, relative to their population. So I think it is going to be very difficult for them to try to change the model. They're in a deflationary recession/depression right now. They're trying to export their way out of it, and we can't let them do that. But I think that when you think the Chinese manufacturing system is like that old Disney movie with the brooms carrying the buckets.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. Like, that's their business model. It's not going to stop. Now, what could happen if you were to say, Scott, what's the dream scenario? That somehow there could be a deal where the US and China, we want more manufacturing, which would mean a smaller part of the economy's consumption. The Chinese have this imbalanced economy with too much manufacturing, and actually the Chinese consumers really get the short end of the stick. So Chinese households, they're called in what's called the middle income trap. That could we do something together to say, okay, you rebalance, you consume more, manufacture less. We are going to consume less and manufacture more, and we'll be military rivals. There'll still be an economic rivalry, but we're going to level the playing field by a lot. Now, that's not going to happen tomorrow. That's not going to happen in a month. But over the next few years, they may have to come around because I think their business model is broken. I think President Trump's broken their business model with these tariffs.
So you're describing, the famous scenario where if you take a bank loan, the bank is in charge. They can repossess whatever you borrowed against. But if you take a big enough loan, you're kind of in charge of the bank.
Exactly. And they've just got such a big deficit with us that
they need our markets.
They can't survive with that.
Are you confident that there's like a clear enough channel of communication between the two governments that the details can be worked out and that nothing will go crazy in the meantime?
Well, I think what gives me a lot of confidence is the relationship between President Trump and Chairman Xi.
Yes.
That when you have a direct line of communication at the very top, then I think it's very difficult for things to go haywire.
You want to sell to...
Okay. So he said a lot of things.
You want to sell to Americans, you got to make it in America.
Okay.
Sure. Or pay.
What does he say? If you want to sell in America, make in America. That's Trump's plan. And Scott Bessent has said it's not going to happen in a day, in a month. It's going to take time. So we're going to we are looking at a long drawn affair, and USA is ready for it. Look, everyone says this is not an off the cuff thing which has come from Trump. Trump, I've been saying from the beginning, has come with a plan, and his focus is China. Haven't I been telling this from day one? Now it's coming out in black and white. Many people wouldn't have believed what I said. Isn't it? Now you believe? Incidentally, I've never been wrong when assessing China. They're done, in fact, whatever USA is doing largely goes with my way of thinking. It's only that someone has had the guts to pull the trigger. And he says China is an imbalanced economy in a deflation cycle, which I've been telling every day. It's in a depression cycle. Now, this is coming from the Treasury Secretary of USA. He's not this thing. China can't export its way out of trouble. I've been saying this again. China can't survive without US markets, which is a fact. China might say, I don't do direct export. But what about that indirect export? The last thing is important. If you take a big enough loan, you're in charge of the bank. So the bank is held by USA. This is the US philosophy. Now, someone says, don't panic. And this man, Peter Navarro, he explains the indirect issue. And here, listen to that.
But my point here is this: they're coming now and saying, we want to talk, we'll lower our tariffs to zero if you'll lower your tariffs. That's not the problem. Vietnam is a great example. They sell us $15 for every one we sell them. Zero tariffs would get us no reduction in the $123 billion deficit we have. And 5 of that $15 they sell us, you know what? It's China. It's that clip you showed about Cambodia, how China's
the same thing, right?
It's the same kind of, we call it transship. It's just crazy.
So they're looking at transship stuff. That's also going to get caught. Okay. So Chinese indirect exports to USA through third countries have also been targeted heavily. And in that, the other countries don't have a defense. Vietnam said we'll do 0-0. अबे यार इतना बेवकूफ है यार ये मान जाएंगे वियतनाम ने जो बोला है. It won't happen. So that's where the US thinking is. Okay. Next, as this is happening, there's another story which is happening. Panama Canal. Please understand. That's why I said this is no more a trade war. As far as I'm concerned, it is World War III. You can say trade war, war, World War III. But it is happening in a different manner without fighting. Again, I'm quoting Chinese sources. It says USA will take back Panama Canal from Chinese influence. Who? Pete Hegseth. Now, Pete Hegseth, who's the defense secretary, went to Panama and he gave a speech over there. You listen to that.
I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, and most lethal fighting force in the world. We will do this in partnership with Panama. Together, we will take back the Panama Canal from China's influence. And we will do this along with other capable, like-minded allies and partners. This is what peace through strength looks like. I want to be very...
So, very clear what's happening. It's just not trade alone. Panama Canal ho gaya, next Greenland and other places. So those who think that Taiwan will be left off and not be taken on and all that, I don't think are some they must be thinking in some other world. I don't think USA will let go. That's my view. Okay, see what does he say? Now already this is a report again from South China Morning Post. It says Chinese factories in Vietnam hammered by US tariffs. Where can I go now? Chinese factories in Vietnam hammered. Where can they go now? That is the level at which they are. But there are ramifications of all this. Now let's look at the Chinese position. You have a full blast hype and propaganda from China. It's not now. It's been on for the past 3-4 days. Let's go into that. First, I found all these things in Guancha. The invitation letter to the post-dollar era. They're talking about all these propagandists, Chinese propagandists, think tanks have been blowing a lot all over. Trump launched a global war and China has already prepared. China has been waiting for a counter control opportunity and now the time has come. So this is the hype they've been putting out. More countries may turn to China. Okay? China's rise is unstoppable as US grows tired of policing the world. All these stories which came out today till now, you see how they've been turned on their head. Of course, China slams latest threat, rushes to stabilize market. Slam to kiya, but their markets are unstable. They're stabilizing the market. US is not stabilizing the market. Trump is saying, let the market do what happens. And if you go into the commentary, they say that look, market represents only 10% of America. He says, I am looking at the street. And there's another nice video which is around of Scott Bessent, which says it's the top 10% who own 80% of the stocks. The next 30 odd percent own about 12% of the stocks and all that. He says the balance 50 to 60% of America own debt. He says, we are not going to, we know this is not a new thing. We are answering the street and we are going to get manufacturing back, get jobs back. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. This is the position. Okay. So they're not stabilizing the market. They're not bothered which way the market goes. Of course, tomorrow they might change because if the markets tank all over. In any case, if US market tanks, everyone will tank. So there'll be a bloodbath. And already the bond yields are going up there of long-term bonds. Now that's a dangerous situation for USA. It's a dangerous situation for everyone. Okay. Then China's People Daily has been very active. They are the mouthpiece. The Chinese government's official line. Okay. China will resolutely take countermeasures if US escalates tariff measures, the commerce, and they've done it. They've taken it to 84%. It just came out in the afternoon. Okay, but interestingly, something has happened which we need to understand. The Trump administration has listed Taiwan as a country. They're treating as a country. So there is, you see, geopolitically, it might be about tariff war, but Taiwan has been tariffed as a country, not as part of China. So is it recognition of Taiwan as a country? देखो एक तीर दो निशान. For those of you who don't understand Hindi, one arrow, two targets. Okay, what has China said? China is substantially increasing tariffs on US soybeans, banning imports of US poultry and Hollywood films, suspending cooperation on controlling the illegal drug fentanyl, and investigating US companies in China over intellectual property, right? Theft or whatever. So, China is going to twist the tail of US companies in China. Fundamentally, yeah, and don't take agricultural products. Now, the point is, yesterday only I showed something else to you chaps, all of you. That US does, in fact, China doesn't want USA to weaponize agriculture. If USA weaponizes agriculture, China is finished. Okay, so that's how it is. Because USA is a net exporter of agriculture to China. And China needs the soya beans and all that. They don't have another choice. Okay. Then China says American reciprocal tariff are a direct attack on multilateral trading system. That's dead. You can keep howling now. I'll go to WTO, multilateral, ये lateral, वो सब खत्म हो गया अभी. Just forget it. Then they're doing an outreach to EU. China, EU committed to upholding free open trade. So they've come out. They come out with a white paper also. China. Now, the fact is, who will believe them? There's no trust. Who in EU will take them on? Will for open trade? As it is, EU is struggling. Because there's a lot of dumping of Chinese goods in EU and autos and all that. EU is on the verge of being a wreck. So will China be able to get EU on its side? China needs outside consumption. It needs export. If USA is blocked out and all these other routes are all blocked out, then China is in trouble. Of course, they've given a white paper or 20 pages, कुछ भी लिखा हो, मैंने भी पढ़ा है, but उसमें क्या है? It's propaganda. That's why I said a lot of propaganda on. And today, I'm getting People's Daily. This is the level. Normally, People's Daily doesn't give you all that. They give you the party line. Today, they're worried. Every 1 hour, 2 hours, they're coming out with something. And then he says, building community with shared future with neighbors. Which neighbors? You think Japan will go with them? Or South Korea? Or Taiwan? Or Philippines? Philippines has already told people कि भाई आ जाओ मेरे पास, मैं तैयार करके दूंगा आप लोगों को. आप लड़ते रहो साउथ चाइना सी में और आपका वक्त आएगा, कोई नहीं आएगा आपके साथ. आप इनके साथ कौन रहेगा? अभी वियतनाम रहेगा, कंबोडिया रहेगा, लाओस रहेगा, थाईलैंड रहेगा. ये रहेंगे या नहीं? Whether they'll stay with US, China or not, I don't know, because their tail is on fire. I said each for himself. That's the watchword. Okay, and then there are this propaganda. China has got a better political system, a stronger political system. It will give an edge. But China is still struggling with its consumption. People are not attracted to buy. People don't have money to buy in China. I've always said China is a rich state with poor people. The Chinese economy is based on this fundamental problem, and I'll talk of it later. They can't buy. So, whatever China produces, and this is something it goes back to the pre WTO days, which I will later analyze. Yuan has gone past. The moment that 50% tariff was announced, there's a breach $1 to 7.2 yuan. Now it's 7.4 yuan. It's going down. Now look at Xi's position. He can't back down. For the first time, he is being openly opposed. Openly. Very clearly, Trump has said, thank you, man. Now, backing down will be a tremendous loss of face. If there's a loss of face, he might be changed. There might be a political upheaval. Not backing down will wreck China's economy. That's the thinking. It will go even bad further. In which case, there might be a political upheaval. So, actually speaking, there are views which put China's political economy on the brink. The danger in this is that an over militarized China can strike out. This is the time I feel it's got the army, it's got everything, it can strike out. Where will it strike out? Will it strike out against India? Will it strike out against Philippines? Will it strike out against Taiwan? Taiwan it can't. So Philippines, in my way of thinking, Philippines is in danger. Because Philippines said, you come and make things in here. If that fellow invades Philippines and wrecks that place, which could be a minor alternative to China in the short run. Okay? And Philippines and USA are treaty partners. They hammer out a deal and say, okay, you produce. And of course, other things also will come in. So whom will he hit out against? Or India? Second, why India? Will come to that. China's outreach to India. So China has called on India to jointly oppose US abuse of tariffs. So what has they said in this tweet which has come out from the Chinese spokesperson? China-India economic and trade relationship is based on complementary and mutual benefit. Facing the US abuse of tariffs, which deprives countries, especially global south countries, of their rights to development, the two largest developing countries should stand together to overcome the difficulties. That's why I said cake cutting, there'll be a lot of pressure. Cake काट लो भाई. Cake काटें. So this outreach is something which I have not seen in many. I mean, I've never seen it. The point is this, and this is something which I want to discuss. Why has this outreach come? This outreach has come because they have already made inroads into India. They are confident that someone in India will reach to them, will take a call. And there will be pressures from within India to reach out to China or businessmen or communists. The danger of doing this is that any deal you do with China will come under the US scanner. You have to decide, भाई यहाँ है, यहाँ कहाँ करना है. उसके लिए एक बड़ा सिंपल तरीका है. Our allegiance should be to our diaspora. Where is our diaspora maximum? Our diaspora is maximum in USA, Middle East, and such countries, Europe. So our allegiance should be to those countries where our diaspora is, to those countries where our diaspora is contributing to their societies, where we need leverage in those societies for our diaspora. What is the diaspora in China? Zero. तो हमारा उनके साथ क्या लेना देना है? Why is cake cutting a poor option? This is something very interesting. I'll read it out. This is an article in in New York Times. He says the tsunami is coming. China's global exports are just getting started. He's on the verge of a tsunami. It's just time that, Mr. Trump has done what he has done. There's a lot of logic in what is happening. It's not simple. There are figures in this article. It says China's state-controlled banks have lent an extra 1.9 trillion to industrial borrowers over the past 4 years. China has shifted its property to industry. Okay? Now, then he says on the fringes of cities all over China, new factories are being built day and night, and existing factories are being upgraded. There's a massive industrial upgrade going on in China. China's investment in manufacturing is producing a wave of exports and threatens to cause factory closing and layoffs all around the globe. Whoever accommodates China is going to get laid off. So whatever I do, if I want to be a producing nation and I accept China to be my partner, I'm going to get screwed off. Simple. Trump's steep tariffs were the most drastic response to China's export push. From Brazil and Indonesia to Thailand and European Union, many countries have already moved more quietly to increase tariff as well against China. So this is not a unitary thing which is happening there. And this analysis is coming out of New York Times, which is against Trump. Okay. And further, he says, I'll make it full, I'll just read it out. So you have to understand, this is the crux of the story. What the danger which we are facing. At Beijing's behest, banks have rapidly shifted their lending from real estate to industry. So the new pillar of China's progress is industry. Overall installations of new factory equipment has already jumped 18% this year, 18% increase. China's exports are increasing. They rose 13.3% in 23 and another 17.3% in 24. See the massive jumps, see the massive industrialization, see the massive undercutting they're doing. They'll kill us. China's factory output today is bigger than the combined manufacturing of US, Germany, Japan, South Korea, and Britain. See the danger in this. This is the red one which you have to read and understand. And I'll go. After the Trump tariff war, Chinese exports could be diverted elsewhere, threatening those economy. India is the prime target as far as I'm concerned. Who else can consume? They will do heavy dumping. Okay. Chinese companies still sell almost no cars in the US. This is unlikely to change. Blocked in the US, Chinese automakers have continued building factories and have pivoted their export campaigns elsewhere. That's why you see BYD making an entry here. And why is our government so idiotic enough to say allow Chinese cars into India? In fact, from this moment, they should ban it. China is exporting so much because their people are buying less. They are actually going back to the Chinese communist economy, which I will talk of. Their tax revenues are falling, but military spending is rising. And because the military spending is rising, the government can't do stimulus. Stimulus, if it is not done, people will be poor, the government will be rich. And the people will now become more poorer if factories close. So there's a lot of instability going to come in. China does not want people to become rich. It wants to be a rich state with poor people. I've been talking of this on and on and on and on. We should expect huge dumping if Indian markets are opened or if any deal is done with China. It will wipe out our industry in the current scenario. We made the mistake of giving them an entry, our API got wiped out. Our steel industry got wiped out, our copper industry got wiped out. Should we make a mistake again in allowing them here? And listen to this. This is Frank Dicotta. He's done a 1-hour video. Okay? And you must listen to this just about a little bit. You'll get the whole idea of the communist thinking and psyche.
The countryside by the year 2000 is entirely bankrupt.
It takes us back to the WTO days.
In red. The state enterprises as a whole cannot generate a profit. This country is on the verge of utter and complete bankruptcy. In comes not just Bill Clinton, but others. May 99, Belgrade, NATO accidentally hits the Chinese embassy. Jiang Zemin is up in arms. You should read the transcript of what he says to the Standing Politburo. I read it in the archives. He says, the Americans hate us. We must build up our army. We must join the WTO, but not adhere to their rules. Okay? Now, this was not publicly available. But at this point in time, Bill Clinton apologizes several times, and the Chinese say, show your sincerity by allowing us to join the WTO, which Bill Clinton does a few months later. So from there onwards, it's a very clear story. Now, why should he have known better? Why should everyone else have known better? Because the People's Republic of China has a leadership which time and again has made it very clear that they're fighting capitalism and wish to maintain a socialist economy. Time and again. Because time and again, when it comes, for instance, to intellectual property rights, promises have been made every 2-3 years, which are then broken. There's a long record of making pledges and promises, more transparent governance, greater protection of intellectual property rights, strengthening the rule of law, opening up the country to foreign investment. Very little of that is ever done. The result of the WTO is that in an economy which suffers, we think of communism as lack of production, underproduction, but what we're talking about in China is overproduction, massive overproduction. Already with the Asian crisis in 1997, when China is seen as a sort of island of stability, about a fifth, if not 2/5, of the products that they make end up in warehouses. A total of some 68 square kilometers of warehouses in total where stuff is stored. They produce 30 million televisions. They can only sell 15 million. This goes on for bicycles, refrigerators, sewing machines, clothes, you name it.
So it's not just real estate that gets overbuilt. That's what makes the front pages of the Wall Street Journal.
Exactly. So this is before the WTO. So when they join, you can see what happens. All that stuff that has accumulated. Factories are not allowed to go bankrupt. In a normal economy, bankruptcy happens when you cannot sell your stuff. Now, there's a point where you have to account for what you've
market
done.
discipline.
Yes, exactly. So what you have is boom and bust.
So they join the WTO and start dumping this.
And they can just export as much as they want to anyone. Not even Bangladesh is able to compete in the production of clothes. By 2004, 2005, so China has been allowed to join the WTO on promises and pledges and has not been required to reform the state enterprises, make its capital account convertible, and float its currency rate, unlike all other countries. So by 2004, reform of the banking system is put on ice. Reform of state enterprises is postponed forever. In fact, by 2005, so 96% of the 500 largest enterprises in China are in the hands of party members. Yet, still abroad, you have those who go on and on about the private sector in China. Of course, it's there. There was a private sector under Lenin, right? With the new economic policy after the First World War. Communists will always allow will give some leniency to the private sector.
So very, very interesting talk, right? And then
The countryside by the year 2000 is entirely bankrupt.
the point is this: the Chinese system has not changed from then to now. This is something which we need to understand from this video. That's why I brought this out. China will not adhere to any rules or agreements. They used WTO as an instrument to break everyone else by cheating. Overproduction in China has been a tradition from the days of Mao. China needs markets. China cannot consume. It couldn't consume then, it can't consume today. This is endemic to China. And tomorrow's China without population will go even down further. It also wants to export communism. That is why this global civilization initiative and things like that of Xi Jinping. The largest enterprises in China are of the CCP, owned by the communists. I keep saying China is a rich country with poor people. Even Frank Decotter in this has said the same words. For the first time I'm hearing him. I heard him twice. The turn today of China to their private sector is tactical. It will not go forward. That's their history. There is an issue of Chinese malevolence, which I have spoken of. They never discuss the border. They want our markets. Technology denial will be the norm, even if you deal with them. They will invade into the neighborhood. Already they're talking of Bangladesh, Lal Monir Ghat and Teesta. Pakistan, they are already there. They're trying to get into Maldives and Sri Lanka. They will suppress India at any cost and ensure we don't develop. All this nonsense is just for themselves. Otherwise, why will they make an outreach to us? They will ensure you don't have the self-confidence to develop any international status. They will put out propaganda. They will put out, misinformation that India and China are making a deal. They will. And they'll use Russia for it. Only thing is today, as of now, Russia is, in a different grid altogether. They will interfere in India-US relationship. You must expect it. They will degrade India-Russia relationship and India neighborhood relations. This is all part of their malevolent strategy. All this won't go off. So when you do this cake cutting, remember this. And then this crumbling wall, which I've always said so. The bottom is hollow. Demographic khattam. Political instability is stepping. And if this Trump thing triggers, there might be more instability. Diplomacy has failed. Technology has worked. Military, I have explained to you where it is. And what's India's way forward? I know it's taken a little time, but it's worth it. We have some challenges. We will have short-term supply chain disruptions. There's no doubt because of our dependence on China. There will be dumping of Chinese goods. There will be an attempt. We should ensure it doesn't come in. It doesn't come in through third countries. From Vietnam, it can't go to USA. They'll say Vietnam will, because we have good Since it's Vietnam stuff might come to us, and they're actually Chinese items. There will be a global economic slowdown for which we need to prepare. But there are opportunities. We have fantastic export growth on, on the horizon. If we play our cards well, I'll talk of it a little. You can strengthen your trade ties, I'll talk of it. And you can shift your investment. Wean away from China. This is the time. We talk of GDP. GDP is just a number. The more important thing, are we well off or not? That's more important. In my way of thinking, the people of India are far more well off than China. Our GDP be damned. Now we are in a good spot. We are a consumption-driven economy. The people of India, will consume us out of harm's way. And that has been our tradition. Okay? We are not in any problem. We don't have a consumption problem. We have a strong set of armed forces. They'll protect us. They'll ensure nothing goes wrong. Invest in them. Politically, we are very stable. वो है opposition, उसने जो करना है कर लिया, but stability है. And my opinion, and I'm sure everyone's opinion is, it is better to align with the worst democracy than the best dictator or a communist state. Okay. And then, if you heard this video is all over the town today. Mr. Piyush Goyal has very clearly said that we know what China is doing. And India will continue to restrict investments from China. From my side, whatever they restrict is too little. Okay? We have to be cautious about whom we allow to invest in the country. Forget about investment. I think we need to say whoever can export into this country. So what do we have to do? We have to keep China off our back. We must make a very clear thing to reduce our dependence on China. No dumping. Don't allow dumping. We need to form stable relationships, bilaterals. The multilateral and all those are gone. Finished. Right? So we have to talk of bilateral relationship with strong economies who need us, complementary economies. We need to talk of Japan, Taiwan, Middle East, EU, of course USA, and Latin America. IMEC is very important. Very, very important. Already there's a lot of work going on IMEC between India, Saudi, and UAE. Need to take it further with Israel. So Israel becomes very important. I later said it. Use Israel connection. We need to invest in technology and enable growth. That's our baby. There's a time to do it seriously. You need to take the neighborhood along. All these chaps will be in pain today. They'll be scared to touch China. All their export markets will be tottering. Their tariffs are higher. Use them. India should be the integrator of these people. US Pidit. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar. Use them. Get them. And you have a deal with USA. And wean them away from China. Otherwise, they can be with China. क्या है? हमें क्या लेना देना? खास करके बांग्लादेशीज को एक सुनहरे मौका है They have written a letter to Trump, भाई मेरे को 3 महीने मोहलत दे दो और थोड़ा ये कर दो. वो तो देखेगा भी नहीं. उसने तो ठोक दिया 45-46% ऑन यूनुस जी. अपना सर खुजलाते हुए बैठा रहेगा. We need to reach out to the global south. Leverage Quad. I've said this earlier. Start looking at the post-Ukraine war economy. We have a huge role to play. These 5 are our internal things which we need to do. If we do this, we get strategic independence. Manage your water, improve your agriculture, reform your agriculture. You're going to be the bread basket of the world. As it is, you are a net food exporter. Even China wants rice from you. बांग्लादेश को तो बात ही मत करो, उसके पास चावल भी नहीं है. You have a booming health sector. When you say health sector, it is not pharma alone, medical tourism. Okay? And then you have your defense. Your defense is a place where defense is a place where you have huge opportunities, especially when there's remilitarization globally. Okay? People will need defense capability today. That capacity is not there anywhere. As China recapitalizes itself, AI and IT form partnership. Already there is something. Okay? So this is something which, yeah. Thank you. AI and IT, very important. Form partnership with US companies. They need our expertise. We need their technology. Already something is happening on this. And then energy. Let's look at new forms of energy. Let's have our thing to get our thorium cycle going. Let's look at hydrogen. IMEC is a very important aspect in this. You need to have focus. You can't go all around and say, I'll do everything. ये 5 करो सीमित, and you will get strategic independence. इसमें टेक्नोलॉजी भी आ जाएगा अपने आप, because everything needs technology. Look, this is the last slide of mine. Finally, this thing I want to say. China resembles a tanker that looks impressively ship-shape from a distance, while below deck, sailors are desperately pumping water and plugging holes to keep the vessel afloat. This is China for us. So very clear. Okay? So we should be absolutely clear that we have to look at what's best for India. Okay? The way I look at it, China is not the best for India. Is USA the best for India? I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. So we have to spread the jam and then take the country forward. Amongst most countries in this time, I think we are the best off. We might get some knocks, but we are not in that bad a position. We might be one of the first countries, along with Japan, to get to a deal with USA. And I said, our entire story has to be based on our diaspora and other relationships. Right. I've done a long talk. I hope I've, put across what I had to, and you have a lot of questions. I'll take a few questions now, right? Okay. Mm. In the meanwhile, I'd like to remind all of you that do subscribe to the channel if you like it, and press the like button if you like this particular video. I'd also request all of you to, or most of you, to join as members. I need members, and I told you why. I have to educate these kids, and in fact, one kid I'm paying off her tuition tomorrow. That's okay. Devakar Singh, thanks a lot for becoming a member. Welcome back. I'm so this thing. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Look, Sparkly, don't worry. All these bots from Pakistan, Bangladesh, all these third-rate countries, na, इनके यार, they don't have water to, you know what, clean their bums. So leave it. झोला है ही नहीं, कटोरा छेद है उसमें. Up, don't react to these fellows. Yeah, General, so even now technology development is being done by Indians in US. This right time to launch research-based company. I completely agree with you. I have no doubt about it. Our strategy should be cautious and selfish, friends, with all. Build our defenses and infrastructure. Completely 100% I agree with you. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, we have a great opportunity to develop our country, but our Babudam will see this as an opportunity to make more money. Corruption will increase. China will. Look, this is a thing which we have to live with. Okay, and don't give too much to our Babus. Those chaps have done well. Babus have done well. Otherwise, our country wouldn't have been so where we are. In certain cases, they have not done well, so it's okay. But largely, if our Babus had not done well, we wouldn't have been where we are. Okay. Thanks a lot, Jack. Yeah, we so kind of you. Okay. Wonderful presentation. In some foreign investigation like salt, food import consumption, Japan and Russia estimated China is done. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I have kept telling you 2030, you see where China is. Okay. Is it not true that USA and Europe enjoyed at the cost of China? What was the trigger for USA to get alarmed and reacting? Till a point of time, yes. Thereafter, China started cheating them. As simple as that. It's their national interest. They are reacting. If it's my national interest, I will react. As simple as that. I am not interested in anything else. It's a matter of national interest. Is it plausible that our business dealings were a temporary tactic to delay a hot war until China can strike? All that, no, I don't think so. I think, look, you have to understand a fundamental thing. China is getting weaker. China is on a slow decline. What will happen after this war? We'll see. We'll know. But it's not good for China. This trade war is not good for China. China has already started declining. I have said this 2 years back. Let's see how it goes. So, from where do you collect such videos from all over the world? What an awesome presentation tonight. where we get to hear what Americans and Europeans are saying directly here in clips. It's there. You just have to go and search and you get it. I'm not doing anything this thing, but I listen because I listen to everyone, get ideas, and then I try and show it to you to the point. Otherwise, you'll see all nonsense all over the countryside. Last week, EU Parliament, there was a debate, and some Parliament said it's time to sanction India on Manipur. They said India must be held accountable. What tactics are these? Oh, they'll do. Europe में ना कुछ होता रहता है ऐसे. We don't bother about them. They'll come to us. They don't have a choice. Don't even bother about it. Why should we take advantage of this scenario? Also, why US is using bad words against USA? Trump is correct. Why is EU tilted towards China? Look, if the EU tilt towards China, their balls will be caught, finished, and crushed. Okay, they are very worried about this whole thing. You'll see a change. Don't go by past thing. There's a huge change which is happening. Understand this change. And that is why I took the trouble of putting so much. I could have finished this just like that. But I'm taking time deliberately to put across things because there's a change happening and it's going to affect all of us. The Chinese are expert at bribing and corrupting their way. Pakistan, Canada, Europe, UK, even Hunter Biden. They will think they can bribe Modi, Adani, or blackmail them to control India. They will. They will try. There's no doubt. Look, they have done it earlier. See, sometime back, we allowed certain amount of Chinese firms to come in and set joint ventures up for rooftops, solars, and all that, solar panels, and all that. What happened? All those chaps who were in the joint venture, the Indian chaps, were all Benami guys. And everything was coming from China. Nothing was made here. It's all fraud. So they'll do it again if you allow them. Okay. We should have majority Indian, if at all, for whatever is or even now being invested here. Because some investments are true. You can't, or you can break them off. If there are factories here, make sure they. What about Vivo and all these fellows, Xiaomi and all? They cheated us of tax. We have forgotten it. Corruption. So we should kick them all out. I have no doubt. Why not use all diaspora to build India? And I think we should, but I don't know whether we can. We don't have the capability. Let me be very honest. The diaspora point is crucial, but there is enough work waiting to be done in India. Is USA willing to help us as much as they did to China? They will not. That's the challenge for us. That's a challenge and an opportunity for us. The challenge is no one is going to help you. Everyone will expect you to function the way China does without helping you. And then they'll say India is not as good as China. That's the thing. But they have to think again. Okay? And the opportunity is you don't do what you don't want to do. You do what you need to do. We don't have to become a manufacturing giant like China. Sorry. If you do that, you're finished. You will be polluted. You don't have water. That's why I said water is important if you want to industrialize. Water is important if you want to urbanize. Water is important if you want better agriculture. That's why the larger thing is water. If you want to make use of this opportunity, you have to sort out your water problems. Okay. What will be after this trade war? There will be a new world order which will emerge. You will see blocks emerging. You will see countries working on their own. What will be India's future? Don't worry, India's future will be very good. I have doubts. Yeah, in my modest opinion, the Indian government is cleverly playing hide and seek with China. We only need to guard against dumping, severely tax dumping, and reduce unnecessary imports of consumer products from them and let trade take its normal course. Let's see how. But as far as I'm concerned, the biggest problem with China is dumping. Number two is our adverse trade balance. We need to have a plan to get off that. APIs. How? Health. I said no, 5 points framework. One of them is health. Part of that is pharma. You want to make pharma strategically independent, you should get off the APIs. It's high time. Get investment. Get American investment to API here. They will be ready to do and have a deal with them. Thank you for stating it clearly. Yes, we are in World War III. The first salvo was chemical fentanyl attack by PRC on USA. This trade was is the yeah, I agree with you. Do you think this plan is too simple? Tariffs are applied as big boot, but the problem of trade deficit, China. Look, no war is going to be simple. There'll be blood on the streets. The only thing is, this will be Wall Street and some other street where dalalon ka ye hai. But stock markets don't reflect the economy. There will be upheavals, there will be shortages till the world adjusts to a new normal. But unless someone dials down, China doesn't seem to be dialed down. Trump is oh, अपना तो ऊपर करे जा रहा है. If there is not, no one is dialing down, there will be a problem, and this problem will continue. Let's understand that. In this, if these problems continue, people will suffer. To that extent, I am very sanguine that India won't suffer that much. Or don't worry about rare earth and all. The rare earths are rare only it requests for certain things. What will China do with rare earth if it cannot export its normal things? Now, this fellow thinks, I have to say, as time goes by, Trump's trade war has turned from a serious economic show to an entertainment show. Yes, Mingwu, the entertainment is for the Chinese, not is for the US people to watch Chinese suffer. You guys will suffer. Take it from me. Yeah, rest in peace, Tesla. China, I agree with you. Okay, thanks a lot, Jeet, for joining in. On World War III, when we today at commencement of tariffs conflict think that this is will be economic, isn't it how after World War One, economic punishment led to? Yeah, that's how it is. I've so far it is without blood. The time will come and there'll be a conflict and there'll be blood, and that will trigger one to the other. Already we have two conflicts going. Iran is on the verge. South China Sea is likely to go into a conflict against Philippines, which have said China. So it's all there. It's starting. You had earlier told aim of target by Trump is to target China. The only part is that why doesn't Trump distinguish between friends and foes? Why does Trump raise tariffs against Bharat? This is his strategy. I'm glad you asked this question. He is now put tariffs against everyone. People are going to him and going to align with this thing. So the moment you do that, you have to disalign with China to some extent. So he's created a set of people who will tell China, sorry यार, हम उतना ही करेंगे तेरे साथ जितना है हो सकता है बाकी हम उधर करेंगे. This dagulbaji of China will cease. And he will demand, he wants make America great again. He's working to his national interest. Everyone will play to his national interest. Indian Mastiff. China is building a dam in EP. China is going to weaponize the canal. India can do nothing. Fuck off, you bugger. Don't be a buffoon. Okay? You are... nothing like that is going to happen. Because nothing has happened so far. By the time you build that dam, it will be another 30 years. By then, you'll be dead and gone. China will be dead and gone. public spat on Elon Musk and Navarone. Doesn't matter me. It's irrelevant. China is the biggest contributor to UN funds. Who told you this? No, it's not. It's not, sorry. So the rest of the question is QED. Hi Jayant, how are you? Vishwanathan, how can USA protect its non-existent industry through tariff? The way to protect it is to let it grow. He's not saying I'm going to protect my industry. He's going to let it grow. Protectionism also is to let things grow. Okay. Yeah, let me see if there are any other questions. How do we get our talented children back from USA? Well, that's $1 million question. I think we need to think out of the box for this. I don't have an answer, but I'll think over and get back to you. Yeah, I'm glad yeah. Thanks a lot, Hans, for becoming a YouTube member. So nice. Will it be worthwhile to create an attractive Silicon Valley within India to get our kids back? Yeah, it is already there, Bangalore. Bangalore is a Silicon Valley. You have one more in Hyderabad. You have in Chennai and one in Noida. How to maximize it? This is the question. Yeah. Soon, USA will recognize Taiwan as an independent country. It's on the verge. If China weakens and Taiwan declares independence, what will China do? This red fire tree can bloody take his balls and go for a walk. Sir, Indian Trade Minister saying China has been attacking Indian economy, but Foreign Secretary is cutting cake. Is this to confuse China? No. The diplomacy is going on. But behind the scenes, I think people are waking up to the reality. And this will make them hope to wake them up to a full reality. And I'm sure, these videos like what we are doing will go across. Already I see Chinese there. They're trolling, but at the same time, as they troll, they're seeing what is happening. Whatever I'm speaking will be, I'm sure some idiot in China will do with this DeepSeek. Why beg help from USA? No, we are not begging help from USA. Sorry. We are doing what is good in our national interest. Yeah. I think USA and China will harm each other in this trade war and monkey will take the bread. I agree with you. Sir, Kannada what Dagalbaj? No, I know Kannada. Gottappa enaku. How long will this deportation go on? Oh, yeah, this will go on. This will now go on for the next 2-3 years. Look, I like what Shilpa says. India is the future. Indians are not going anywhere. I completely agree with her. Okay? Yeah. The tariffs feel akin to a virtual choke point to China, but without the ships. Yes, I agree with you. There's a lot of things, but at the same time, also let me tell you, after all, right? After all, we have to understand that China is a big country. It's got a lot of depth. It's not going to be easy. Both are at a stage, USA and China, where, well, they have to do what they have to do. If you're not big enough, you will get caught between the two. We are big enough, we don't have to get caught between the two. I think we are much better off than either China or USA at this point of time. Okay. We might not be as rich as both, but I think for someone, take it from someone who's been to all over India. or people are more happier than many. Okay, I'm not been to China, but from what I can hear and what I've researched, I don't think life in China is very good. Okay, so I leave it at that. I've finished off all questions. Uh, the Chinese can keep trolling. The Bangladeshis, the guys who don't have a place to even go for a crap, they can keep doing what they want. And right, and we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow, let me see, because tomorrow I have not got anyone to talk, and I kept it vacant. Let me see what uh, rolls out. Till then, thank you. Good evening, and Jai Hind to all of you.